Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M. Boy, I wish we could find a former senator to come on the show to give us some credibility, Joe.
I don't know who that would be.
Don't know of anybody? Got a gal?
Got a person.
I can't say gal, can I?
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Oh, you can ask her.
Joe, we need some more rain.
Yeah. You know, when it rains, it pours.
And pours and pours and pours. How are your gutters? You got a newer place. Your gutters are fine.
Yeah, but there's a corner where it looks like Niagara Falls. It rains heavy. So I gotta get somebody out here for that.
This is the most rain that I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, well, that tornado warning the other night.
Oh.
You know, I could hear outside not just the air raid sirens, but actually a message from the city of Lake Forest, a voice message outside. So they got it covered. Senator. She's walking. 1 minute.
Well, we got the index finger.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. How's the rain by you, Senator?
It's like it is next to you. We've got tons of water here.
Yeah.
I'm in Lake Forest too.
Yeah. I haven't seen, let's see, you've been here longer than both of us. And, I think I got here in 18 and I've never seen this much water. I mean, I have to call my gutter guy. I have to call my basement guy. This is unacceptable.
Well, I'm learning how to play golf. So I go out in practice, sometimes alone.
Yeah.
No go because Deer Path Golf Course is closed. Too much rain.
So you're recommending artificial turf there?
Not going there.
Oh, wait, that's going to be a familiar theme for this show, Senator Garrett.
I'm not going to get involved in any controversy.
No Come.
Oh, well, then the show's over.
All right. See you later.
Senator, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my
We really do
pleasure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's early in the show, Senator. We just want to.
Be nice to me.
I'm being nice.
He's been nice. Pete's been nice to every guest, and I've been nice to every guest
I
except
know.
Joe Severino, but we won't get into that.
But you wanted me to set the record straight, right?
Well, I want to clear the air so we can move on to, more positive things. So like if
Good.
you're going to get a donuts one time, sometime at a local bakery that, hey, Susan, how you doing? High five. How we doing? Move things
There's
along.
another story behind that. I'm happy to talk about it.
Let's talk about it because that's
Okay.
the first time.
All right.
Well, first of all, Joe, set the table for the people that don't know Senator Garrett, and then then the senator and I can clear the air and we can move on to
Well, Senator, you were in the Illinois legislature from what, 1999, I believe,
Correct.
until 2013. Do I got it right?
Yes, you've done your research. Thanks.
You first like what, 2 terms in the House.
Mm-hmm.
You replaced Corrine Wood, who became the lieutenant governor.
Yes.
And then you were elected senator, and what, in 2002? I got it right? Okay.
Yep.
And then
I came in with Rod Blagojevich.
Sorry. But you voted to impeach Rod Blagojevich, didn't you?
I did.
You and the other 58 members of the Senate, if I recall. But you and so then you retired from the Senate in what, 2013, replaced by our current Senator Julie Morrison. But you've been involved with what, the Center for Illinois Politics? You co-founded that?
Yes, with a moderate Republican, John Milner, who very well, you may know him because you worked with Rauner, or you were somehow involved with.
I worked with Judy Bart Topinka and Bruce Rauner. So
Okay.
yeah, John Milner was a senator from DuPage County, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Great guy. Sheriff. Chief.
He was sheriff. That's right. Sheriff. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And and just give us a quick overview of what you're still involved with that, right? Are you still doing?
I am, not as much as before. And before that, I chaired the campaign for political reform. And, I'd like to get involved with reform issues in Illinois politics. It's tricky. And sometimes you hit your head up against a wall and nothing happens. So,
well, there's a lot to reform in Illinois politics. I think we'd agree on that.
We made some inroads, but it was very difficult. Remember, I served under Mike Madigan as well.
Sorry. You voted twice, though, for Madigan. I have that in my notes.
Well,
here, right?
There's a backstory to that, and it's long, so I won't go into it, but I served in the House for 2 terms, as you said, and then in 2002, they gave me a district, redistricting every 10 years. And my district included all of Waukegan, all of North Chicago, and then a line that went down Waukegan Road. I lived right off Waukegan Road at the time, went around my house and then back up. So not only was it unfair to the people in North Chicago and Waukegan, it'd be unfair to people in Lake Forest. And it was done deliberately because they didn't want me to run again. So I declined when I saw the map. I knew what was going on. I was too feisty for Michael Madigan. So he basically redistricted me out. So I thought my career was over. I thought, that's it. I was lucky and very proud to have served for 2 terms, but didn't expect to go any further. And so I said, no, thank you to this weird configuration that probably wouldn't have held up in court anyway, but I got the message. So I decided instead to just, get involved locally or do something. And then I got a call and I was asked to run for the Senate. So that was a difficult race against a very moderate, well-liked Republican woman, Kathy Parker.
So we'll talk more about some state stuff, but as Pete said, to set the table here with the Lake Forest stuff. So um, you left the Senate, like we said, in 2013, but still were involved. You supported Prue Beidler for mayor
I did.
last year.
I really was instrumental in her campaign.
Sure. So, and I think, we did the donut reference, which is obviously the Garrett's
You do that often,
Gerhard.
by the way.
You
I
watch
don't
us
do
often. That's great.
great
Get
idea.
him. Get him.
You're not getting away with this until I say
No, we want to hear, and then I'll have a follow up to that because so Pete was there. I just heard it. I wasn't even on the podcast. I wasn't even on the podcast.
These Republican
back then.
blowhards, Sue, they just keep going and going.
It was as opposed to the Democratic blowhards. But they
talk behind your back, not to your face.
Scoo was the co-host back then, and I heard it like everybody else. So Pete, you tell what you saw, and then we'll let Senator Garrett come in.
All right, enough inside baseball. First of all, we're all neighbors here. Okay, so it's Sue, you can call me a dummy. I can call you a lefty, whatever it is, but we're still neighbors. But somebody from Highland Park can't say that about you, or somebody from Deerfield can't say that about you because you're Lake Forest, okay? We all, stick up for one another. That being said, okay.
I grew up in Deerfield, by the way.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Never mind. So our first interaction, I started off in the caucus and I could do 2 out of the 3 years before, my personality, kind of gave me the exit door. But in those 2 years, I saw contestants.
Well, Pete, let me just interrupt here. It's good to have a different perspective.
Yeah. Well, Sue, that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I'm going to call you Sue, Senator. I know you got
I'm not a Sue.
You're a Susan? Okay, Susan. Okay. Call me Mr. Pete then, okay?
Okay, Mr. Pete.
All right, good. All right, now we get this. You got the license plates, all right? And
I deserve those.
Of course you do. They're great. And you deserve 2 parking spots too, but I digress. So we have contested elections and we get, come on, Joe, you're okay. You're okay.
Fine.
Joe's having a good time. He's smiling.
I am. I'll just sit back here and have a drink while you talk.
So I'm getting back to this caucus stuff. You got contested elections. You have, it started with me with the school board, and I saw the only people that are winning here are the people that are making these lawn signs, and it was driving me nuts. So I get out of the caucus and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a podcast so at least people can get information they wouldn't have before and they can make decisions on their own, not based on what a lawn sign says in somebody's yard. Okay.
That's great.
Okay, great. So that's what I've been doing, whether it's good or it's not. You listen to it or you don't listen to it. Great. So we have this mayoral election coming up, and Randy Tack is coming up. I don't know him from Adam. And if I'm going to talk about a guy, I'm going to sit down and meet with him, have a beer, a cup of coffee, whatever, and get to know the person. And if I like him and I believe what he's saying, I'm going to endorse him. And we had an agreement to go meet at Mary's at Gerhard's to sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk. And we run into you and Prue Beidler. And it appeared to me that there was a heated conversation or a loud conversation regarding Randy Tack's mayoral sign in the window. And I walked in, I saw that. It was a heated discussion. And I tried to talk to you, but nothing really came down. I said, hey, can we get you on the show to talk about it? And here we are today. That's what I saw. And I've been waiting I've asked Prue several times
Wow.
to get your take on
Okay.
what the
You're
heck
gonna get
happened.
it.
What's your side of the story? What
You're gonna get it, Mr. Pete.
hit it? All right, Susan.
So, that particular day, Prue and I were, our goal was to go to different stores and restaurants and, highlight them because like you, we think Lake Forest is a pretty nice place to live. And that was part of her campaign to say, oh, the bookstore is so unique. It's great. And take a picture of Prue buying a book or something like that, just to highlight the stores. We didn't go into these establishments thinking that we were going to, or she was going to receive an endorsement. That wasn't it at all. We talked to the owners and asked, got permission, said we are going to highlight, Williams-Sonoma. We're going to talk about it, how great it is in Lake Forest. Okay. So then it was time. It was my idea to go to Gerhard's. I used to go there a lot. I love her food. I love her coffee, by the way. She's got the best coffee. And
Better than Starbucks, yeah.
I asked her once what brand she uses, and for your listeners, it's 8 o'clock. You can buy it at Jewel. So
Beans.
we walked in the
Won't
beans.
taste the same.
Hers is better. So we walked in. As we were walking in, Prue said she's got a Randy Tack sign on her window or door or something like that. And I said, that's okay. We're not going to go after Randy Tack or make a big deal about anything like that. The point was to highlight Gerhard's because it really is a very cool establishment. So we go to the counter and wait for Mary to come out. And it took her some time, which is kind of surprising because you go in there and you can see her moving all around. She's directing everybody. And she came out and the conversation never was about Randy Tack. It turned into Planned Parenthood. Prue was on the board and Mary disagreed with that. And so the conversation went in this unusual direction. And there was nothing, at that point, there was nothing that I could do or you could do or Prue could do or Mary could do. The division was very clear. One was against Planned Parenthood, one was for it. Had nothing to do, as I remember, with Randy Tack. I don't think we even brought up the sign. The sign wasn't an issue. So it was pretty heated. You were there, it was. And then we kind of walked away and I think we talked to you, Mr. Pete, and that was it. That was it. I've seen Mary a couple times since, we've said hi. But that was it.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you that because there were conversations with other businesses in Lake Forest that
Right.
had tax signs.
Yes.
And there was what we heard and what was talked about on the podcast at the time was that there was a threat of a boycott of businesses.
I'll tell you what it was. It was, what's the store? The women's clothing store.
Inez?
No, and right across from
Lilly,
Lily's. She sells a Lilly clothing. I mean, I know her. She's I like her. And what happened was I was that morning standing in line at Starbucks and women were talking about the fact that Lily's had the Randy Tack sign in her window. So I went in there. I didn't ask her to take it out. I said, I just want you to know this. I don't want you to lose customers, but do with it what you want. And she never said anything. She never said yes, no. I bought a couple things. She bagged it and that was it. And then the next thing I hear from your podcast is that whatever it was, I threatened her or something. And so I called her back and I said, maybe I misspoke or maybe you misunderstood, but this was not the intent at all. I just wanted to let you know as a woman to a woman kind of thing. And, she didn't really respond. I think she got it. I never meant anything. I didn't want her to take her sign down, but I wanted her to know that.
And then Oakwood Cleaners was a big one.
Oakwood Cleaners is where I take my cleaning, and she had the sign up in her window, and I said, can we put a Prue Beidler sign up as well? I said, are you supporting Randy Tack? She said, somebody asked me to do this. And so I said, yes. I said, great. If I ask you to do it, will you also put a Prue Beidler sign? She said, sure. So I bring over a Prue Beidler sign. And when I got there, she said, I've decided not to have any signs. And that was it.
Okay. Joe?
So
There's nothing nefarious about this, nothing threatening. If anything, maybe I was, but that's me,
We're acquired taste, Susan. I understand.
yeah. But it's, turned into something that it really wasn't. And
why wasn't then? Because it was brought up on the podcast, and I've talked to a lot of people in town
yeah.
that have said that Prue lost their vote over that.
Oh, okay.
Why didn't?
Well,
why
then blame
didn't?
me.
No, but why didn't? Why are we addressing this a year and a half afterwards? Why didn't? Because why wouldn't Prue or you come out publicly when something is said publicly at the time and explain it?
You're probably right. In hindsight, should have done that. It was the timing of everything was happening at once, and it was like a 3-man team, and we were trying to send out emails and do assortment of different things. And so I think we both felt uncomfortable about coming on the podcast because we didn't really understand if the podcast was going to work against us or for us, or how, it was just confusing. It's a campaign.
Could you have put out a statement on your own or on Prue's Facebook page or somewhere else? You had a podcast you did with Prue, or I think a 1-episode podcast, or you could have with Susan Kelsey.
You're right, Joe. You're right, and maybe we should have done that. It was a mistake because there was nothing bad. We didn't want Randy Tack signs to be taken down. If that were the case, we'd be knocking on people's doors who had yard signs in their yard and say, oh, can you take this sign down? So it wasn't the case at all, I promise you. So my bad.
All
right. We letting it go, Joe, or you got anything?
Well, no, that's fine. I think we got her explanation, and I appreciate your candor on that. With Prue's candidacy, she spent nearly $200,000.
I don't know what she spent.
Yeah, it was certainly the highest amount ever spent in the Lake Forest mayoral election, I believe, and the caucus then had to start fundraising and spending money as a result. But I still think, if I recall, looking at the State Board of Elections records, Prue did outspend. And I just want to read you a quote from you that you said when Bruce Rauner was governor, billionaire Bruce Rauner. The cost of running for office continues to skyrocket in Illinois. Significant spending, particularly by those who have amassed personal fortunes, is changing the dynamics within and outside Illinois.
Correct. I stand by that.
Okay. So does that apply to Prue?
Well, you might think that. I mean, I think I was more like 100. I thought it was just over 100,000, but 100,000 is a lot of money. And, she wanted to be competitive. And so what was happening at the time, being inside the campaign, we were receiving information that tens of thousands of dollars were being contributed to Randy Tack's campaign. And there was also a very disturbing letter writing campaign, like an email campaign going on by some of, I think, even her friends. And it was hard to counteract any of this. I mean, we were two people. And it felt like, and I've been through a lot of campaigns, it felt like there was a very organized, well-established campaign that we were running against. So Prue didn't want to spend that kind of money. She never intended to spend that kind of money. But as we would get our message out, we were over messaged by the other side, I guess is the way to put it. And
But
so
didn't she hit the airwaves first? I thought she was doing mail and ads way before the caucus did.
she was doing, well, she had an uphill battle because of the way it all came down on the caucus. And so it was important for her to explain why she was running for office, who she was, what her platform was. I mean, she really did talk a lot, as you know, about what her ideas were if she were to be elected mayor. And, unfortunately, right now, it's either done through email, and we didn't have thousands and thousands of names on an email list. So we had to use social media and we had to use the mail, but never expected. And certainly it wasn't like, okay, let's run this campaign and the sky's the limit, whatever it costs, we're going to, spend it, whatever it takes to win. It wasn't like that at all. It got more intense and more competitive as time went on. She started as introducing herself, a very positive campaign. And that was the other thing I really want to make a point about. We did, campaigns can be extremely nasty. And sometimes the people that run the nastiest campaigns win. It's just a fact. And so it was Prue's intent always to be positive, to tell the truth, to be factual, and not show another side to, her opposition. And she did that, and she felt that. And I hate to be speaking on her behalf, but I was close enough to the campaign that I know this, that she really has lived in Lake Forest for decades. She's going to continue living here. Her family, many of her family members were here or come back, have, lots of close friends. She didn't want to feel stigmatized. She didn't want this to break up the community. Unfortunately, it imploded. The discourse was really, at some point, unimaginable. I mean, I don't think, Joe or Mr. Pete, you saw a lot of the stuff that we saw, a lot of emails that were being sent back and forth.
I did see some of the emails, and I actually, again, I was not part of the caucus campaign. I was just a private citizen who had just moved here. I wasn't on this podcast.
Oh, there was a stupid email.
But there was, the Prue and stuff like that. That was, and I actually replied back to, I still don't know who did it. But I replied back to him. I said, are you trying to get Prue elected? How stupid are you to send something
Well,
like
people
this?
believe that. I mean, so those were the kinds of things that she was working against and didn't want to be part of that kind of negativity. So we were in a way swimming upstream.
Can I bring up something, and can we move on from this? Because this is a year and a half
You
ago.
always want to move on.
Well, I do. I want to address stuff head
Okay.
on and move on to something, more positive. We're beating a dead horse here.
Well,
But
I think Joe wanted to, I mean, I'm glad we're talking about it, quite frankly, because it's out there, and for people who watch this, I want them to know the truth, that Prue really had her heart in this and wanted to do the right thing.
well, here's where I put a lot of stuff out there on Peru because I've asked her face to face to come on and give her side of things. And, maybe my candor is a little bit too much. I get it. But when Joe, I didn't know Joe Weiss back then, but he sent me some numbers, and I saw that Prue was donating like $1 million to the Democratic side. Part of the caucus is to vet things. And when you see that type of money going on that side, it's hard not to kind of think in the back of your mind that there's got to be some type of agenda. That's what skewed me off, that something wasn't right here. And whether it's right or it's wrong, that's a lot of money to have somebody running a mayoral office, and then you look and see what happened at Highland Park, that's where things get skewed off unless somebody comes on like you're doing now to set the record straight. Where was I off back then?
So that's the part of the campaign that I felt was really unfair. So Prue doesn't deny the fact that she's a Democrat. She's been a Democrat her entire adult life. And over the years, she has always donated to, like Dick Durbin or whatever it is. I mean, locally, she was the first person that donated to my campaign when I ran in 1998. So that's who she is. Would she have brought in Democratic politics to the mayoral's office? I strongly would say absolutely not. And she tried to make that clear, but there was a barrage of, Lori Lightfoot and Kim Foxx, and we're going to have crime on the streets, and it's going to be just like Chicago. That was unfair. That really was unfair. And it was a smart maneuver if you're running a big campaign. That kind of tactic is something I would expect to see it like a state senator's campaign level. But for local politics, I personally thought it was very unfair. Prue has served the city so many ways for so many years with her philanthropy, with her serving as alderman, starting on the cemetery board. So that was unfair. Nobody ever said to Prue when she was donating and raising money for Market Square, hey, you donated to Dick Durbin. You're not one of us. And just personally, it hurt. It really hurt.
Do you think, though, that if Dick Uihlein or Liz Uihlein ran for mayor, the same issue would come up from a lot of people that supported Prue?
It's hard for me to say how that would work with, I can't imagine either of them running. I think the difference is Prue was able to, she's a generous person. She and her husband are extremely generous. They have given so much of their time and treasure to Lake Forest as an example. Would she come in and try to change the way things are done in Lake Forest? Absolutely not. Would her interest instead be to make things more transparent, more open government? Yes, I think that was more her goal. But it got kind of like whitewashed. It was just overbearing, and people, I get it. At the time, Kim Foxx was, kind of a nightmare. And all of a sudden, Prue and Kim Foxx were the same people.
She gave, the thing that rattled me a bit was she then came out, and I think, again, social media is what it is, but there were people who were supporting Prue that were saying, oh, I talked to Prue about this Kim Foxx business, and she admits now it was a mistake. She supported her at first, but you go back and look at the record, she supported Kim Foxx both times. She supported Kim Foxx in 2016 when she got elected, but then supported Kim Foxx again in 2020 when she ran for re-election, with all the baggage that you had at that point about Kim Foxx, and throw in the issue, which she never addressed, about her daughter-in-law working for Kim Foxx and whether there was a connection or not.
No. This is off bounds. Her daughter-in-law was an independent, nothing to do with Kim Foxx, and on her own. And because of that, I think this really was stinging, because
Sure.
her daughter-in-law is accomplished, is the Inspector General of Chicago. That's not, and you don't get.
And why didn't she address that at the time?
Donate to a candidate. That job is off limits for that kind of stuff.
Why didn't she address that at the time? She said nothing about it.
I was with her when she did. She did. And
okay. I don't recall it publicly. I mean, maybe she said it in an event with you, but it just never came up. And so it raised that whole context of pay to play. But you're right. She is an inspector, though I would argue, with all due respect, that if an inspector general saw a family member giving money to an office holder, the inspector general would raise questions about that because that happens in
Independent,
state government.
you don't see
Okay.
that stuff, and you don't get
Okay.
involved in freedom of speech and,
Sure.
you know.
So, but back to the money, the whole issue of the money. She was running ads at the time. This is what got me on to sending the email to Pete and to becoming a guest on the show. Was the ads at the time were, and my teenage son couldn't open a YouTube video without seeing a Prue Beidler ad. He's like, "Who's this Prue Beidler?" Like every time I open up my phone up, her ads are coming on. She said, "I am I can't remember if it was independent candidate for mayor, bipartisan, nonpartisan. I think all three of those words were used at some point." And, again,
As they
it's
should.
kind of right, but it's hard to see someone being bipartisan when they're giving $1 million to one party and not
I don't
the
think she
other.
said it. Well, we can wordsmith this. It's nonpartisan because elections in Lake Forest are nonpartisan. And she wanted to make that clear that she wasn't a Democrat running for office. I mean, it was confusing then. People were, most people don't go through this and sift through all the back and forth. And so what they were seeing was Lori Lightfoot and Kim Foxx and numerous other.
Lori Lightfoot ran as a nonpartisan candidate for mayor, as did Brandon Johnson and Rahm Emanuel. They're nonpartisan in Chicago, but everyone knows they're a Democrat.
Yeah, I didn't know they were nonpartisan in Chicago.
Been nonpartisan since the 90s, I believe.
Okay. Well, Lori Lightfoot's a Democrat. So
Those Prue.
Yeah, and Randy Tack might be a Republican.
No, there's no.
I don't know.
Jim Preschak, Republican. All these people.
Jim is, yeah.
Yeah.
Eric Oshkarian's a Democrat. He supported Randy Tack.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it all. You can do both. They're either or none. I mean, it's not meant to put people. If I ran for, you said I'm running, I'm not running. If I ran for mayor, it would be the same thing. You guys would heap all this. She's really a Democrat. She couldn't, run as independent, but I could. And so could Prue, and so can anybody else on the other side. Republicans should be, because you give money to others in a, partisan way, doesn't mean that you can't run in Lake Forest as an independent or nonpartisan. That's the beauty of the way it's set up. Everybody has political leanings. Do you think that Randy Tack doesn't lean a little bit Republican? I'm guessing he does. But
never asked him.
Well, okay, we didn't ask him either, but we wouldn't ask him. Nobody should hold that against you if you have partisan leanings, I believe. And I think that it's unfair to think that anybody could run for any office in Lake Forest and not be either more leaning Republican or leaning maybe to the Democrat side. It's unfair. You'll never get anybody to, run. If you're going to bombard people with information on who they've given to in the past.
But is it fair to then say, like, back to the Kim Foxx thing, and I made this point a couple times, and then we'll move on to other stuff for Pete. The issue with Kim
I'm
Foxx,
on the hot seat here.
No, I appreciate you doing it.
Okay.
But Kim Foxx is clearly disliked by law enforcement officers.
Yes.
And you supported Mike Neerheim, the Republican county state's attorney back in the day, as I recall. You endorsed him.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're endorsing for state's attorney this time. If you're endorsing anyone, I'd love to have you endorse Mary Cole, but I respect your judgment. But a lot of police officers, they obviously can't talk on the record, but a lot of police officers talked to us off the record and said, "Look, I know the mayor doesn't get involved in the day-to-day stuff of the city government, but they are the leader of the city. We see them at all the functions, all the meetings and stuff." And I quite honestly cannot respect a mayor who not just once, but twice gave money to Kim Foxx, and you can throw in Eric Reinhardt to that too, who they don't like as well. because they feel that then if they have gone to, it's one thing to support Dick Durbin, okay, or Barack Obama. Those people are very popular and well liked here in Lake Forest. But Kim Foxx is clearly disliked by law enforcement. How does a law enforcement officer reconcile that with morale of, oh my gosh, the leader of our city is supporting someone who really we have very, very strong disagreements with about how we do our job.
And they're free to make that decision on their own and vote however they want. All I'm saying, Joe, is that I think it's sad that those kinds of things were brought into a local, nonpartisan campaign. It was like I had whiplash, like, what? I mean, it was the last thing I certainly ever expected to see. It'd be different if Prue had just moved into town. Nobody knew who she was. She hadn't really earned her stripes, but she had proven herself over and over again, and really called upon to serve in so many different capacities. So it was okay then, but when she decided to run for mayor, all of a sudden, people started looking into her contributions to political candidates and used those contributions as a reason why somebody couldn't support her. And that's fair game in politics and campaigns, but really at the Lake Forest mayoral level, it seemed untoward. And that's all I'm saying. So
I know I see your point. I think if Randy, you mentioned Randy Tack, if Randy Tack had given money to Donald Trump, or if there was a picture out there of Randy Tack wearing a red MAGA hat, don't you think that people, a lot of your fellow Democrats, a lot of people that supported Prue would have been screaming, and a lot of people were saying at the time, my God, the caucus is run by MAGA Republicans, and they were making that charge. I mean, we saw it on social media. I can't remember the woman's name offhand. It's not relevant here, but there were Prue supporters on social media saying, in fact, the consultant that Prue hired, that Weingarten from Digital for Dems, said on his own social media, the caucus has been hijacked by right-wing Trump Republicans. Do you believe that?
Well, no, I don't believe that. But I will say there are people, and I know you're very familiar with Cirrus and some of these Republican organizations, that key leaders in Cirrus, for those listening, is a Republican-led consulting campaign organization. Happens to be headquartered right here in Lake Forest, and some key leaders.
Lake Bluff, actually, but yeah.
Their
office is in downtown Lake Bluff. I can tell you
that. Joe, the key leaders, whose names I'm not going to call out, are from Lake Forest and very involved with caucus and donors to the caucus. And yes, so we could have brought that up. We could have said, hey, wait a minute, there's an organization called Cirrus. There's an organization called the Combined Farmers PAC that gives money to all, and same people, all the Republican townships and local organizations here. We could have done that, but decided not to because it was unfair. Let people do what they want to do. If those guys want to do that, that's great. But for us to call them out and basically point the finger and say they're bad because they do that and they shouldn't be involved in local politics, I don't like that. And so we could have, we had the opportunity. There's plenty of evidence also reported on the State Board of Elections, but we didn't.
Of Tack supporters, but like I said, Eric Oshkarian was a Tack supporter
Joe,
as well.
You talked about the caucus. Somebody posted that they were being run by MAGA Republicans. I don't believe that to be true, but what I will say is that there are key people in the caucus, and you know who I'm talking about, who run an organization called Cirrus, which is a statewide group, and their motto is to make Illinois red again.
Yeah, it's Barrett Davy and Jim Preschlack
Yes.
on that.
So,
But
and
Jim is a former alderman. That's fair.
he was an alderman at the time when they started it.
But like I said, they don't run the caucus. Jim is a private citizen now. Barrett is a private citizen.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't at the time. He was an alderman when this started.
Barrett? Oh well, Jim was, yeah. But
yeah.
But like I said, Gosh Garion.
No.
Okay.
So let's be fair. When you've got that stuff going on, and then Prue has simply donated, not running a big organization, not donating across the state, not trying to turn the whole state red or blue.
Right, she turned the whole state blue.
Or red or blue. I'm saying they're trying to turn it red. She could have said, I'm trying to turn the whole state blue. Oh, and I'm going to start with Lake Forest. That wasn't anything that was ever even imagined that would happen. But on the other hand, it was happening, and we decided let that go.
All right, I'll agree to disagree with you on that.
Susan and Joe, can we get out of inside baseball for a little bit?
Okay.
Susan, long story short, with me, the way I do business is, I talk to somebody, I hear them out, I make an opinion, move on. It took a long time for us to get together, which I understand it could be a trust thing or whatever. Hopefully we're beyond that now, going forward.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
I'm camera shy.
Yeah, right. Senator. So when I've asked Prue a bunch of times, I've asked you a bunch of times, and a delay, then I see $1 million. Then, the trust on my side is like, something's up there. And correct me on my narrative, because where I was going with this, I was looking at the history of Highland Park, and they started with a caucus system, and that's turned into a Democrat. I'm not going to even say this right, because you guys know better than I do, but that's a caucus system that is all Democrats. How does that work over there? The reason I'm bringing it up is my impression is I've seen a lot of stuff that's going on in Highland Park, which has been anti-business. And I'm a pro small business guy, because that's the heartbeat of America. If we don't have small,
I'm with you on that.
Okay. So I was worried about us turning into Highland Park, not so much Chicago, but Highland Park. Am I off base with what's going on in Highland Park? Please correct me, and then we can move on to something else more productive.
Mr. Pete,
Yes, Susan.
I know Nancy Rotering. I don't, and I represented Highland Park for 10 years. I don't know the intricacies of how their caucus system works. It's a Democrat town. I mean, they lean very much in that direction. I know Republicans that have served on city council there. So I'm not sure how that works. I just don't know. Not the right.
All right, Susan, we'll let that one go.
Yeah.
What I want to get to is, when you were a senator, there's a couple things that's sticking in my craw, and I'm not a political genius here. Okay, yeah, I know. But look, I've talked to Democrats, I've talked to Republicans. I'll talk to anybody to help me be less dumb about things, okay? When the Safety Act was being put forth in the legislature, I've been told that was dumped on everybody the night before it needed to be voted on. How the hell can you go through a stack of papers and put that thing through to have cashless bail, and then you have people going through Lululemon and looting it, and you can't put them in jail. So,
well, I have to tell you, I was in Chicago yesterday. I had a doctor's appointment, and I met a friend at Neiman Marcus for lunch, and I walked into Neiman Marcus on Michigan Avenue, and I was greeted by armed guards. So yeah, that's a meaty issue. And
but just 30,000 feet, like, what was the thing behind it? Because you want to have a pauper prison, or what?
I think the rationale behind it initially was that a lot of poor people are being arrested, and maybe for something so minor where a wealthy person could get the bail and get out of jail. The poorer people who don't have those same kinds of resources are stuck. And then that cycle begins. So that's the crux behind it. What it turned into and how it evolved, I wasn't there for that, but I do know that there was a lot of, there were many meetings. John Milner, who was the co-founder of Center for Illinois Politics, was part of that. And I know they tried to make it as balanced as they could. And you'll talk to one group and they'll say it's great. And you'll talk to another group and they'll say it sucks. So, you know, the devil's in the details on that, but that's the reason behind it. Maybe they could have done a better job, but they probably could have.
If you had a magic wand and you could pick one thing to change about it, what would you? Because look, I mean, you passed something, so it needs to be corrected, it needs to be tweaked. What would be the tweak?
Yeah, if it were me, and Joe, you probably know this from my record, I was always somebody who would bring both sides together, have the meetings, have the public hearings, get everything out in the open and get the legislation right before it turns into this, controversy, which it really unnecessarily did. So I'm not in that position anymore. I wouldn't have ever been on that particular, that's not my forte or my expertise. But if I had to do it, that's how it would be done. I believe totally in bringing out all the bad stuff and getting it fixed before it's too late.
Lake Forest has term limits on all its, the mayor is term limited, the council is term limited, the boards, the commissions, the caucus itself is term limited. Do you think that that's a good idea to have at the state and other offices?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Mike Madigan is a perfect example. He was in there too long.
50 years.
Yeah, I retired. I always say you have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And I could just tell, I was very involved, and there wasn't a weekend that went by that I wasn't out there, working with people. That when you when you become so like, I'm going to do it my way, and if they don't like it, too bad approach, that's when you got to leave. You just got to get out. You've got to be there for the people. You're a public servant, and sometimes I think people forget that. And that kind of attitude or that feeling, in my opinion, doesn't last for decades. I was there for 14 years. I felt that was just perfect. But many people just like the power. And it's I believe in term limits. I do.
Okay. So 14. Okay. Back to your time in the Senate. I think the one thing that I recall was the pension funding holiday.
Yeah.
Did you vote for that?
So I saw that you brought that up and said I voted against pensions for police and fire. I find that to be almost impossible. I mean, maybe it was part of something else. We were, right before I left, we were working on reforms. I wasn't part of that group, but I was supportive of getting the state back on track. Pensions are expensive, as you know. And so I was supportive of those efforts. I'm maybe you have some kind of information that I don't have, that I voted against something that I should have voted for.
It was in 2005.
Okay. Well, that's way back.
Governor Blagojevich.
Yeah.
Pension
holiday. I know what that was. It was the budget. They didn't want to make pension payments. So instead of making the pension payment, they would use that money to supplement the budget. It was a budget issue.
Yeah, to balance the budget, not raise taxes going into his reelection, right?
Right. Right.
So you voted for that.
It's so, Joe, while you don't like to have things like that, you don't want to vote on things like that, it had been done so many times in the past by, I think Edgar even started, it's Republicans, Democrats, they just took advantage of it. And it was included in the budget. So if you're going to vote for the budget, you got stuck with voting for that as well.
Because the SEC later ruled that was fraud.
Joe, I'm not a criminal.
No, I didn't say you were, but they did rule. I'm just
you
saying.
vote for things.
I think
as
Joe's looking for some Lake County Gazette quotes.
Joe, are you
No.
looking for some red meat here?
No. But
I'm
my
about
point
as
is,
honest
though,
as you can get when it comes to.
I believe that. And what did Emil Jones call you back in the day? The senator from Richville?
No, that was what's his name? I forgot his name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they wanted to. So
right.
why I was called that was because they wanted to give themselves raises when we were going through a recession, and I would be in caucus. I was in leadership, and I said, "There's no way you guys can give yourself raises. I'm not going to be part of this when people are suffering. I mean, what kind of message are you sending?" Well,
I agree with you.
I got slapped around.
Well, you know what the wages are for the city council? 0, and the mayor is $10 a year. So I think they got it right with that.
Yeah, but they're spending a lot of money. Woo.
Bigger picture, though, on that is, do you think
They're
the
spending
state?
so much money, Joe.
Yeah, the state,
They're on a
the
spending
city.
spree.
Who the city is?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the city. What is it you think the city of Lake? Why was it that Prue ran? What was the issue? Because this is a question I've had a lot. Was what are the issues of why Prue ran, and why Randy shouldn't have been the mayor and Prue should have been? Issues affecting citizens.
So we all know. So it was that train issue on the west side that Randy was not responsive to. Of all the aldermen, everybody went out there. It was his ward. He acted like hands off. It's a federal issue. And as you know, both of you, all politics is local. And people near those tracks, and then not so near, we're also concerned. What would happen if all these things lined up the way they were supposed to line up? And I think they had legitimate concerns, the residents, about the train issue. And Randy wasn't responsive. I mean, that's a fact.
But he never supported the train expansion. He just didn't go out there and walk with the citizens next to the track. He didn't want to spend money on a consultant like Glenview did.
So I worked on these train issues, not exactly the same, the metro, all sorts of things. That was something I did a lot of work on. And I can tell you that, as we just talked about, when you should be a politician, term limits, one of the reasons for running for office is that you serve the people. It's one thing to sit behind a desk and vote yes or no, or talk about some things. But when it comes to issues that people really care about and frightens them, it's your responsibility to go out and assure them or hear their concerns and do something about it. That's the point. That's what you're there for. And I don't dislike, Randy Tack is probably a very nice person. I believe that, but he didn't do his job in that particular case. And that was very important to a lot of people. And it showed maybe a side to him on how he may be as a mayor.
So now that he is mayor, how do you feel about it? His performance as mayor?
I'm agnostic. I mean, I don't follow him and criticize. It's not my.
We ain't getting nowhere on this. Here, the guy sitting at the pub on the train issue, it was a federal issue that we didn't want to spend local dollars on legalities on it, is what I got on it. And we can have a whole nother show on that. Susan. We're getting towards the end of the show.
But Joe asked me why.
I know. Joe asked the wrong question at the end.
Stop asking questions, Joe.
Yeah, Joe. Susan, I think we've gotten closer to clearing the air. We're towards the end of the show. Is there anything you'd like to address that says, hey, Pete, you got that wrong, or Joe, you got that wrong, or you suck, or something like that?
No, I think what I will say, and I'm sort of treading out here now in some dangerous territory, but yeah. I think I'm a little concerned about the city's spending. The turf field's great. I walk by there every day. And then I guess there's cityscape stuff coming up, and then the police station. So we've got 100,000 square feet, a small price to pay for such a big building with an underground garage and a gym and a spa and all sorts of things. But it's still money and retrofitting, lots of money. And I'm thinking, how are we going to pay for that? So I walk every day. I'm a big walker. And so I noticed the streets. I mean, they're patched a little bit here, a little bit there. A lot of these streets are in
McKinley's getting all torn up and fixed. I know.
There's some great condos.
Oh, I'm on the east side then.
I'm just saying that if I were on the city council, I'm not, and have no intention of ever going in that direction. But I guess I would question I know the priorities change on the police station, which is warranted. They need more space. I get that. But we're talking about a building that's 3.5 million, and then
Susan, is it fair? Can we bring you back on to talk about that? Because you know what people are going to say now? You're anti-cops.
I know they are. And so I am pro cops. I'm totally pro cops. So that's not where I'm saying the spending. You can still get a new police station. They deserve it. They need more space. I think that's correct.
Can we get you back on to have like a legitimate discussion on this, on your take on it? And, if we get somebody else on and say, because this dialogue is nice. It's better than, saying, Pete sucks, Joe sucks,
I can do that if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I get to stay on longer if I say that?
It'll never be as long as the Joe Severino show.
You lay off, Joe. That's my
2 hours. 2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
So I want to clarify this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I don't want you to go out and say I'm, protege of Kim Foxx or something. I think it's important that the city does add to the space that the police need. All I'm saying is there are a lot of expenses, and Joe, you have to agree a little bit with me on this. And I'm just kind of worried, like, I don't know where they're going to get the money.
I think some of the council members, if you listen to the comments at the end of the meeting on Monday night, I don't know if you watched it.
I went to the meeting, but
we were there. Okay.
But it was, I thought it was like going to be up the way it was originally, and it was in old business at the very end, and I couldn't stay till 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Well, I watched it from home, but I think the issue is the vote Monday night was to acquire the property. And I think the crux of the debate is, if we don't buy this, where would we put the police station? And can you think of another site in the city to build a police station? Because that was the debate for years was, yeah, we need a new police station, but where in the heck are we going to put it?
Well, it's not so much the location, it's the retrofitting to get it to be a police station. And it's 198,000 square feet. And that's a lot. So Highland Park, their new police station is 40,000 square feet. And Highland Park's probably, I'm guessing 35,000, 37,000.
But they built it from scratch, right? They built a brand new building.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the way to go. Because when you're talking, let's say 30 million for retrofitting, let's say 35 million all in, it could be more. I don't know how much Highland Park spent. Deerfield, I think, did the same thing, but I'm not positive. So what I'm saying is, let's take a look. Let's find out before, put the cart before the horse here.
Maybe they could knock the building down that they just bought and build a smaller building there. With that, I don't know, because where else would you put? What's the footprint for a police station somewhere else in the city? I can't name a space offhand.
I agree. It's not the location that bothers me. It's the long-term cost. And so people are saying to me, I do still talk to people on the street. They're concerned with their taxes because the Lake Forest High School referendum passed. So they're seeing their tax bills go up, up, up. And now, I mean, it's just like, so much at once. That's how it feels to, I think, a lot of people. And all these things probably need to be done. I'm not on the city council. I'm not the person to say one way or the other, but it's a question I think that we should all ask.
Sure. And I think the aldermen are asking, like,
Good,
hey, now that
that's
we've
great.
got
I
the
didn't know that.
space. Yeah, they go, but I'd urge you respectfully to watch the
I will.
comments at
I
the
appreciate
end, because
that.
they said, look, tonight the vote is about this space.
Yeah,
And we think we should buy this space. We're not committing all this money to building this right now. We're going to
Okay.
continue to look at our options and have open, transparent discussions
Great.
about it. So,
Great.
but to buy the space is that, because Lake Forest, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the city of Lake Forest, not the school district, but the city of Lake Forest has the lowest municipal tax rate of any municipality in Lake County.
yeah, but
So-
we're bonded to the max now, I think. And then, so remember, the schools in the city are on different taxing systems. So I'm talking from a taxpayer's point of view. So I get my tax and I've got the school the bonding for the new school construction, right? That's gonna be added. And then I don't know how the fields are different. I think, using some of their own funds, and some of it will be long-term bonded. That kind of-
Susan,
But I think
Hold
they're
on.
bonded out.
I'll let
pretty
Pete.
sure they are.
Joe, come on. We're at time here. We don't want to, take advantage. Susan, seriously,
I'm
Some-
Well, if
sorry.
they-
some trust
and we'd
here.
love to have Prue on. Tell Prue
Well,
we're
invite
nice.
her. Invite her.
I
Maybe
did write her.
she
She said no.
will. Well, yeah, I
How many
said no
texts
too,
and
and here
emails
I
can I
am.
send her? Look, Susan, hopefully there's a trust thing here. We'd like
Yeah.
to address these issues face to face versus behind somebody's back. It's always open here. Because look, somebody's always going to say you're against the cops. You're going to say, well, no, I'm not, because here's what I'm thinking. I'd like to get your side out there so information is on both sides and people can make a judgment. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the fact that we had this conversation, honestly. And I'm happy to chime in whenever you want me.
Okay,
And
done.
I will, I think,
You
reach
can
out.
guest host for me the week I'm on vacation. How's that?
You're great, Joe. No problem.
Hey, Susan,
And I'm
one
glad
last.
you don't call me Sue anymore, because there's Johnny
I
Cash.
call you Senator. I was taught by my boss, Judy Bartopinka, to always call somebody senator or representative. So,
And Judy Bartopinka was one of the best.
yeah, and y'all should have supported her instead of Rod, but we won't get into that.
You don't know
Anything-
how I voted. You don't know how
Okay,
I voted.
all right.
Anything is better than being called dumb and dumber. All right, Susan, take care. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you,
Guys,
Senator.
thanks.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grove. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M.